everyone. Today I want to talk to you about this product called TriggerTrap. And basically what it is two parts. One of them's free, one of them costs roughly $30. And the free part is this iPhone app. And it's called TriggerTrap. You can get it at the iTunes store or the App Store, whatever. You can download it. It's free. I said that. And it will turn your iPhone camera into a very cool multifunctional photographic tool. And many of those functions, if not all of them and more, are available when you actually use the TriggerTrap app on your iPhone to trigger a DSLR. And for that you need this dongle, which is connected to my iPhone, and then also connected to the the remote port, the remote shutter release port on my camera. So this turns into a control surface, basically, thanks to this really cool TriggerTrap software. Now, I can't go over every single function with you, but I want to show you basically like three. And the simplest one is a simple cable release. Now, okay, you can buy Canon's proprietary cable release or Nikon's proprietary cable release, either radio or wired. And I know I can't really speak for Nikon, but I know that Canon's is a lot. It's like more than $50 or around 50. All right, so this is 30. So the shutter release from Canon does one thing. It opens the shutter. This does that too. So I want to show you that it does that. I've set up a little shooting scenario here. I've focused. I've got everything ready. I'm just going to hit this button. And there we go. Camera took a picture just by me hitting this button. So in its simplest form, it is a cable release. But it does more. It does a lot more. And the other thing, well, one of the other things it does, which is really cool, is called a mode called bang. And what that is the shutter release in this case will be triggered by a sound. Hand clapping, whatever. The point is, in bang mode as well as many of the other modes, you have to tweak some settings to get it to work exactly the way you want. For example, if I were to put this into bang mode right now, it would be firing like crazy because it's activating by my voice, which is going into the mic on my iPhone. And since I'm so close to the mic, it's going to be triggering that. Now, I'm going to be standing where that styrofoam headshot was, so I'll be farther away from this, and I'm going to use a hand clap. That said, if I don't set the output settings right, it's still going to take multiple frames due to a setting that we call, delay after trigger. That has to be set correctly. Now, right now, I've got mine set for 1 second. So after the initial trigger, this won't trigger another shutter opening for at least 1 second, which will cut off any multiple firing from my one hand clap, which might reverberate around the room and whatever. The ambient noise in the room, whatever, would create some multiple triggers, and I don't want that. All right, I know that's probably confusing, but it's actually a very simple app to use. And the great thing is you can make these fine-grained adjustments. Okay, so now I'm going to go into bang mode, and then I can't talk because I'll trigger this. Okay, I'll do one more. Okay, I don't know if you could tell from the video camera, but there is a slight delay between the hand clap and the shutter opening. Now that's not something, unfortunately, that you can overcome, and that's the bad news. See, I was very excited about this device because A, it's so inexpensive, free app, $30 dongle. But I was hoping that the sound triggering would be a lot quicker because I like to shoot breaking glass. Like, I want to be able to open my shutter just as the hammer, for example, just as a hammer would be hitting a glass. At that moment, the glass begins to shatter, and I want to basically catch a frame of that moment. And the sound of the hammer hitting the glass would coincide with the visual of the glass just beginning to shatter. Or maybe 1 or 2 milliseconds later would be perfect, because then, you know, the sound and then the glass in an instant starts to shatter. Regardless, there's a 120 millisecond delay, and that works out to roughly like 1/8 of a second, which is way too long. So the bad news is you really can't use this for high speed freeze frame of like an explosion or something like that. It's not going to work. So, but okay, what the hell? It's $30. So there is a way around this, which I'm going to show you in a separate video, because you can actually use this device, this dongle, to trigger a flash gun, which is really great. So it solves that problem, but that's for a later video. All right, so that's bang mode. I also want to show you time-lapse mode. This will tell the camera to fire a certain number of frames over a certain interval. And really what you do is you tell it how many frames to shoot over the overall time. Say, in this case, I believe it's going to be 14 seconds. So let me go into time-lapse mode. Yes, take 9 photos over 14 seconds. That works out to about a photo every 1.5 seconds. All right, so this is what's known as an intervalometer, I believe it's called. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly, but you'll spend over $100 for a remote shutter that time-lapses. So right away, I mean, this is really cool. And it does have different modes of time-lapse, some very advanced time-lapse modes. It'll alter the exposure, for example, over time. I'm not going to go into those, but the time-lapse feature on this alone is worth the price of admission. All right, so I'm going to have it take 9 photos over 14 seconds. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my shutter delay for the maximum of 3 seconds. The reason is I need time to walk over to where I'm standing inside the depth of field for the shot that I've set up, which is great because I can set my delay before trigger to 3 seconds, get over there, and it's still going to shoot the 9 frames in 1.5 second intervals. All right, so okay, that's good. I'm going to hit done and go back to the time-lapse screen, and I'm going to push the shutter here, get over, and wait 3 seconds, and here we go. Shot 1, shot 2. Okay, so it works, and it works great. So once again, there are more advanced modes to this. There's a lot of settings you can actually I'll just read you some of them just so you know all the different values you have, the different functions you have. There's time warp. Oh, now, well, time warp would be what I described before. You get a time lapse, but it'll accelerate or decelerate. The interval will grow or shrink between each successive photograph. So for example, if you're going to use the time-lapse function, which was what most people are going to use it for, which is to make, you know, a time-lapse photograph, which just so you understand, you're making these multiple frames to then assemble into a movie, because time-lapse photography is a movie. So it's a movie of still frames. So, you know, 99% of you all out there are going to go set up your camera and shoot a sunrise. There's millions of them out there. Just Google it. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, like as the sun is just coming over the horizon, it actually comes up relatively quickly. But then as it's getting higher in the sky, you don't want to have the same interval that you had as the sun was rising. So you can say speed up the interval as the sun is getting higher in the sky, and that will create a more like fluid time lapse. That's one thing. And another variation of this, which is so cool, is as the sun is getting brighter, higher in the sky, what's it doing? It's getting brighter. The overall scene is getting brighter. And of course, that means that your exposure is changing. This thing will actually change your exposure. So as the sun gets brighter, it'll stop down your camera over time, which is so cool, right? That's really amazing that this thing does that. These guys really thought this thing through. I have to give them a lot of credit. There's just so many functions here. My God, there's seismic. It'll respond to noise or vibration. well, you saw the one responding to noise. This will respond to a vibration. Peekaboo is facial recognition. You know, I don't have any interest in that, but there's a star trail mode where you can tell it to take, say, 100 exposures and have each exposure be 30 seconds each and wait 1 second between each exposure. And then you would assemble those 100 exposures in Photoshop to create those star trails that everybody's doing. What else? Oh, they have a couple HDR settings. Motion detection. I'm telling you, this thing, and there's Bluetooth, there's Wi-Fi. All right, so that's basically my semi-in-depth review of TriggerTrap. I'll give you the link to their website, and I highly recommend this for $30. To me, this is a no-brainer. It really adds functionality to your camera. And if you've already got an iPhone, I mean, presumably you're not going to buy an iPhone just for this, but if you already have an iPhone, great. You know, 30 bucks and you're there. Also, they make an Android version, but I believe it doesn't have all of the features that the iPhone version has. All right, that's all I have to say. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye.